everyone, this is Cathy from Cathy Cuts Paper. I am an independent Fun Stappers Journey Coach. Today we're going to be making this card. It's a mixed media card and it is blank, so it's for all occasions. Now the first thing we're going to do is take our cocoa powder panel, and all the measurements will be on my blog, and the link to the blog will be at the end of the video. So we have this. We're going to take Buttercream ink, which is a pigment ink, and the stamp set we're using is flower swirls. Now the two pieces that we're using on this is the very small flower and this little looks like berries on a stem. Those are the two we're using, and I have it on my C block. Now when we do this, we're going to stamp. Then you can either turn your stamp or the paper. Once you get your main pieces on there, you can stamp just little partials like that. Okay, and as you can see, it looks like it's done with chalk. Now I'm just going to take a baby wipe, and these are alcohol-free, scent-free, little cheapy baby wipes. And first I'll get it off my work surface. Now the pigment ink takes a little bit longer to dry, so what I'm going to do is use my heat gun to speed it up a little bit. Running the heat gun on the back like that gets rid of some of the curl. If you want to see if it's dry enough, okay, I'm going to do it for a few more seconds. Your other option is just to set it aside for a few minutes while you're working on the rest of it. What we're going to do now is also on here, I'm going to use my stencil. Alright, the stencil is called Falling Petals. Isn't that pretty? What we'll do is we'll decide by looking at this which pieces we want to be covered. You can see on this we're going to have to stencil on top of this. I think I want this to show, so this is okay if we put the stencil over it. Then we take the modeling paste, Journey modeling paste, as you can see it's all pasty in there, and then with the spatula, which is a flexible spatula, get a little bit on there, and you hold this firmly like that because you don't want a whole bunch of stuff getting underneath. There we go. It's not too hard, is it? Now my stencils, I like keeping them clean, so I always have a little pail, a little basin of water next to my work surface. I just drop it in. That way it's not going to dry on there until I'm finished with my project and can get it all cleaned up. Get that all clean. have some extra on there I can put back in the container. You can see that. And again, we want to keep this clean. So just wipe it and make sure everything is off. And again, you can set this aside to just air dry, or you can use the heat gun, and I'm going to use the heat gun on that. Okay, I'm just going to let this sit for a while and then I'll check it to see if it's dry enough for me. Alright, so now we're going to be doing the flowers here. Now if you look on your Flower Swirls stamp, it's not the largest, it's the second largest that we're going to be using. It's right there. And then we have the flower with leaves already there, and we're going to be using that. We're also going to be using this leaf right here. You can see that's on there, and we're going to stamp that twice. So all of these are going to be done using cocoa powder ink on a buttercream cardstock. We go. Then we've got the leaf, and we just need to do that twice. Leave yourself some room between because we're going to use dies to cut those out. Now again, I'm going to, I need to clean my stamps. I'm going to use the heat gun just to set these really quickly. There we go. Now we're going to color them, which is the fun part. I'm using the Color Splash colored pencils, and the colors I'm using are 13, 12, 14, 20, and 18. I have my large blender brush. I want to make sure that there's some water coming down. Yep. And I'm going to start with the leaves, so the lighter color of the greens. Squeeze just a little bit, because what I'm going to do on my work surface, and you can use this on the back of an acrylic block or a piece of acetate, anything like that. And I'm just going to smoosh that on there. The difference on this piece is you don't want to get in where the flower is. Okay, then wipe that. Don't need to clean it off because I'm going straight to another green. Okay, so I've got the leaves done, and I'll make sure I get color out so I don't have any green going into my yellows and oranges. Then I'll start with my lightest color. of the yellow. And you squeeze a little bit. You want some liquid there while you're pulling the color off the tip of the pencil. Then I'll go to my medium yellowish orange. It's kind of fun because you can just throw it right over the edge there. You don't need to worry about that. And then the orange. And there we have a mottled orange and yellow flower. And again, I'll get color off, and that one's fine. Okay, I want to dry my watercolors with the heat gun. I want to show you with the original card compared to this one, the colors on the swirl flowers are much deeper, much more vivid. And I could go back and add more to this, but I kind of like the pastel on that one, but then again I like the dark on that one. So there are variations that you can do. With the Color Splash pencils, I never put them away until they're all the way dry. So I'll just set them aside to dry. Now I'm going to cut the pieces out using, this is the Journey Platinum. Fun Stampers Journey also has the Journey Amaze machine, which is, this will hold an 8.5 by 11, or an 8.5 wide sheet of paper. The Amaze machine will hold a 6-inch. It's more a standard die cutting size. So whichever you have will work with this particular card. So first, we're going to do a leaf, and you're going to space that. The working plate on this is magnetic, so you'll be able to wiggle around your paper and your die, and then it will hold right where you want it. On the flower, I'm only going to do one at a time. If you do both and for some reason it moved when you put the top plate on it, you can ruin your die, die on die cutting. We don't want to do that. So this is with the ridges down. Okay, so we'll run this through. And then we'll do the second leaf. And the second flower. And there will be some jostling of the camera, but it's what happens. You can see the footprint of this machine for such a big machine isn't very large. Okay, now let's check to see if this is dry. You could just tell because it would come off on the fingers if it wasn't. Okay, very good. The next thing we're going to do is start assembling the card. First, I'm going to use craft glue to glue the large flower down. There we go. And I usually hold this for about 15 to 20 seconds. Then we'll do our two loose leaves. And again, I'm going to use the craft glue. I really like the way the craft glue works. It grabs really well. And if some of it leaks out the side, it's not sticky. So like if you have the card in an envelope, it's not going to stick to your envelope. Stick this one in there. Alrighty. I'm going to put some Journey twine, it's a natural colored twine, on here as an accent. So the first thing we'll do is get a large foam square and put it just a little bit out to the side there. Take the paper off. There's a lot of ways to get your twine accents on there. This just is the way that I like, so I have some control. So one loop, two loops. We'll come over this way with 3 loops. And then trim that off with my detail shears. Then we've got the small flower. Because we have a lot of sticky exposed from the large foam square underneath, we don't need as much of our adhesive. So what we're going to do is put the small foam squares around, but not in the center, and take off the little liners. Okay, and I want this for composition, I want my these leaves coming down this way. There we go. So this flower is flat against the card. This flower is elevated. It's got some dimension to it. And then we have the twine coming out for an addition. Now what we're going to do for more embellishment is one of my very favorite things. We're going to use some of our Journey silks. I have a box that I do this in, because otherwise I end up making a really, really big mess. This silks is the citrus cooler. You shake it up because it's got little metallic-y bits in the bottom, and you want that shaken up. Then you take it out. You don't need to wipe it off. You can see it looks almost like a fingernail polish brush. And you just tap it, and it's going to splatter. You can put as much or as little as you want. And it doesn't take very long for it to dry. We'll take that out and just let it sit for a minute while we get our card base ready. The card base is also buttercream. Our Journey trimmer has two blades. The green one is for cutting, the orange is for scoring, and that's what we're going to do, is we're going to score this. It's a standard A2 card, so we will score it at 4 1/4. Now I want to show you, I put my score going down in that way. The inclination is to want to fold it there. That's not where you fold it. You have just pushed down to make a hinge. So instead of going down that way, you're going to go up this way. That makes it so you don't have splitting of your cardstock. Okay, there we go. And again, I touch things to see if they're dry. That's not dry yet, so guess what we're pulling out? That's right, the heat gun. How long it takes your stuff to dry is going to depend on the air temperature and the humidity where you are. Right now I'm in Arizona. We're in monsoon season. It's very, very humid here. Okay, now what I'm going to do is take white liner tape. Anytime, let me show you. Because we used the modeling paste, there is texture down there. It's almost like you took a spackle and used that. So you've got a lot of texture. You've got a lot of layers here. So whenever I have things, mixed media pieces, I always use our white liner tape. It holds really well, especially if you have a lot of texture to your pieces. So one there, and you can tear this, so it works real well. And tear. There we go. Then we'll remove the liner. You can see how we have some curving here. Do you see that? Because different parts of it have different things applied to them, as far as this only has ink, this has modeling paste and ink, all like that. But the white liner tape will hold it all down. There we go. It's all holding. So we have the one with the more vivid colors, the one with the lighter colors, and they're both adorable. You can get the instructions and the measurements and the order numbers for all the different items on my blog, which is cathycutspaper.com. If you have any questions, contact me, Cathy, at cathycutspaper.com. And I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.